And we're now live. Thank you. Good afternoon, colleagues, and welcome. Before I move to the formal business of those joining us online today, I would like to first introduce myself. I'm Councillor Charlie Keith. I have the honour of being the Mayor of Wakefield Metropolitan District, and I'm joined today by members of the Council from all the district's 21 wards, and Gillian Marshall, the Chief Legal Officer, and Catherine McGowan, who's the scribe today here for us. Catherine, you're doing a great job with the technical bits as well. I'm now going to ask my Reverend Chaplain Rob Drost to lead us in prayer.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good afternoon, everyone. As we move towards Christmas Day, we give thanks for the story of the birth of one small child, of shepherds, of magi, of angels, of a star, and of parents trying to find a room to rest, who had travelled from another place, but who found themselves shunned from door to door. May this holy story prompt our thinking for those who will be struggling to be welcomed this Christmas time. So let's pray together. God of peace and reconciliation, we are here to make decisions for our communities in which we serve as elected representatives. May we use only our best skills and judgment, keeping ourselves impartial and neutral, as we consider the merits and pitfalls of each matter that is placed before us. May we always act in accordance with what is best for our communities and its citizens, for we ask this in the name of the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac, and the God of Ishmael, who calls us to be one in mind and in deed, for the good of all people. Amen.
Thank you, Rob, for that wonderful thing, and a very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to you too. I would remind colleagues to ensure that your microphone is on mute throughout the meeting unless you're invited to speak, and that will minimise the potential of background noise disrupting the meeting broadcast. If you wish to ask a question or comment, please indicate you can do that by typing Q or C into the comment box, and please only use this comment box for that purpose. When you're invited to speak, please unmute your microphone and state your name before addressing the full council. Please remute your microphone once you've finished speaking. Can I also take this opportunity to remind all members that you will only be allowed to speak once and for up to 5 minutes on each of the reports and the motions and amendments. What I will try to do with that, if you look to see when my microphone becomes unmuted, it will tell you that you've got about 20 seconds left of your 5 minutes if you're in danger of running out of time. I've also agreed for the agenda item 16, Cabinet and Governance Arrangements, to be taken after the agenda item 8, appointment of a new Chief Executive, in order that the governance arrangements are considered together. Item 2 then on the council summons is to receive disclosures by members of interest in matters under consideration. Will members declaring an interest please identify themselves and their particular interest clearly and complete the usual yellow form before the end of the meeting. Firstly, colleagues, are there any disclosable pecuniary interests to be declared? Somebody's not on mute, I think, but I take that silence to mean that it isn't. Are there any significant other interests to be declared? I take that to be okay. And sorry.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor.
Yes.
Councillor Hunt. I normally have to leave the chamber whenever there is the discussion going on about the independent remuneration panel, as I'm aware of one of the members of the panel.
Okay, thank you for that, Councillor Hunt. That's lovely.
So for that item, I'll stay on mute all the time. Okay.
That will be fine, Councillor. Thank you very much indeed for declaring that. Are there any other interests to be declared? If not, thank you, and I'll move on to agenda item number 3, which is to receive and confirm the minutes of the council meeting held on the 24th of November 2020. Are these minutes moved?
Move the minutes, Mr. Mayor.
Are these minutes seconded?
Second the minutes, Mr. Mayor.
Does anyone wish to vote against? Okay, I will take your silence as an indication that the minutes are approved as a correct record. We'll move on now to agenda item number 4, which is to receive apologies for absence. Apologies for absence have been received in advance of the meeting from Councillors Manifield, Mrs. Spate, Mrs. Tennant-King, and Councillor Womersley and Councillor Sanders. Are there any further apologies? If not, thank you very much. Oh, Councillor, I've got Councillor Collins come in as well. Any further apologies, please? If not, then I'll move on to agenda item 5, which is to deal with such announcements as I may decide to lay before council. Colleagues, you may be aware that each year I visit some homes across the district and at Christmas. And as this was not possible this year, I came up with an alternative, as I told you before, and compiled a Mayor's virtual Christmas visit, which comprises of 20 minutes video for residents to hear Christmas wishes from prominent people in the district, and a whistle-stop tour of the illuminations across the district, hear carols sung by some top cathedral chorister and the Featherstone Male Voice Choir, and hear our school children sending Christmas wishes. Yeah. I have given the care homes the bag of Christmas goodies as well, did all that yesterday. Last Friday, I co-hosted the first ever carol drive-in, which was a fantastic event on behalf of Wakefield Hospice. It's like a drive-in movie, but instead of watching a movie, we sang carols, and each car paid £20 to come in. The event was sold out within a few days, so we had raised quite a lot of money in 1 hour for Wakefield Hospice. It was an idea by a lady called Helen May, who was an entrepreneur from Aubrey Bridge, and it went very well and sold out, as I say, in days. Very festive, very original, and very welcome funds for the hospice, because we must remember that I also visited the Prince of Wales Hospice at Pontefract yesterday and made a donation to them from the Mayor's charity funds from last year. Just to give you an indication there, it costs £4.25 million to run Wakefield Hospice every year. I'll be going also to their draw for their raffle to Wakefield Hospice this Friday, so supporting the hospice at these times is very, very important. Wakefield Street Kitchens has got a 5-star rating for their new kitchen facility, which I will open next Monday. Their 20-foot crocheted Christmas tree I opened in the Ridings since the last meeting. And tomorrow I'll be starting transportation of the Mayor Says Thanks tub of treats to Pinderfields and Pontefract hospitals, where each ward should get a tub of chocolate. As Christmas is fast approaching and we all want to start whatever plans we can to see and remember our loved ones, it is in the strangest of years. Can I wish everyone a peaceful and happy Christmas, but basically remind you that we need to keep ourselves safe, hands, face, space. Make sure we want you all here in the new year, and your loved ones too. So that concludes my announcements, and we'll move on now to agenda item number 7, which is the leader's report. Once the leader has presented her report, she will answer any questions from members on the matters raised in her report. A maximum of 30 minutes will be allowed for her report, followed by 30 minutes for questions and answers. Will you please welcome Councillor Mrs. Jeffrey.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I hope we don't take an hour, because I'm worried the IT won't hold that long. Just a few items from me. Just a report on the recovery board that I chair. It's gone from strength to strength, really, and it continues to drive forward initiatives helping business and their employees, and to provide support for families and communities during this pandemic. In October, we pledged Council to step up to the plate when the government would not, and provide meals for school children excuse me, during the Christmas holidays. After continued pressure from councils, politicians and Marcus Ratchford, the council finally performed a U-turn and agreed to support councils. I'm pleased to say that preparations now are underway to deliver meals for all school children during the holidays, and of course we have a resolution further on the agenda. I'd like to pay particular tribute to local businesses and community groups who provide meals in our district to young people throughout October school holidays. The generosity shown across our communities was quite remarkable, and their efforts really did make a difference. The other initiative, obviously, is the IT provision, and I'm really proud of the initiative that's working across the district, providing IT equipment for children, and we're doing this through schools, but businesses have stepped up to the plate and provided equipment. But I'm also want to thank all elected members who've agreed to put money in from their community fund to move this forward. I think that's something to be proud of. Help at the hubs. We've got 9 hubs now working across the region, the district, and they're really working well. What I am disappointed about is I'm disappointed with the government's announcement to freeze public sector pay rises, affecting over 100,000 people in our region alone. This really is an insult to our carers, emergency workers, police officers, and workers and teachers, the very people who have kept our community moving and have cared for our loved ones during this pandemic, who have worked long hours, put themselves at risk and sacrificed time with their families to serve communities. It beggars belief that this government has wasted and mismanaged billions of pounds since the start of the crisis, handing out millions of pounds worth of contracts paid with public money and without competition, yet they won't give our key workers the pay rise they deserve. Later on the agenda, we have a motion about councillors' allowances, so I won't say too much about that. And then we also have a report today on the council's new procurement strategy. Amongst other things, the strategy commits the council to increasing spend in suppliers and organisations located in this district by 14 million a year. This will keep money in our district and help businesses. I was pleased last week to be able to support a campaign led by Unite Community Leeds and Wakefield branch, calling on the government to make the £20 uplift, which is due to end in April, permanent. And again, we have a resolution on council about that. The other thing that I thought was interesting was that the National Infrastructure Commission have said that prioritising local links is much likely to deliver highest potential economic benefits for the North rather than HS2. So again, our views have indicated, but it's whether anyone will actually listen to that. And then I'd just like to say a big thank you to all our staff who've been amazing through this year. When you think this has been the worst of years, but it actually has brought out the best of us. It's brought out the best in communities and businesses, all working for the benefit of people across the district. But I would like to say a big thank you to the staff who've worked tirelessly throughout. Some of them haven't had a break in a year. And I think they've been truly amazing. And quite frankly, they deserve a medal. So I'm hoping that all of them and colleagues across the council chamber will have the best Christmas that they can with the restrictions in place. And I just urge everyone to take care and stick to the rules. We all want to see our loved ones, but we need to keep them safe. So happy Christmas to you all.
Thank you for that, Councillor Mrs. Jeffrey. Are there any questions to Mrs. Jeffrey on her report? I've got Councillor Ahmed.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd just like to raise, on the leader's report, a couple of queries in relation to the campaign on school meals. And as all members who've been in politics for a number of years will realise, there's been successive governments that have been in power in this country, including coalition governments, and we can all comment on the need at this current moment in time, which is a different type of need that we've not previously experienced. However, the school meals delivery programme has been in place for many, many years. However, it's never been an issue when Labour was in power for over 10 years, and it wasn't raised at that time as the need for school meals. Nobody considered at that time was there, and some people come back with Sure Start, and if they want to, then we'll debate that issue, because I was actually part of some of them programs, and actually who benefited from them programs was quite questionable. The thing was, that nobody said at that time that schools are in operation for 38 weeks of the year. So if there was an issue in relation to school meals, food poverty, it wasn't raised at that time. And I don't think it's become any. I think that if this issue was in existence, I think it's important that we should have raised it when you were in power at that time. So it's not something new. It's not something that's appeared overnight, and the politicians have now nicely jumped onto the bandwagon of the Rashford campaign, which it was intended for all politicians. Rashford kept quite neutral in his political design at that time, quite intentionally. And I know some people will have something to say about that, but he raised the issue from a perspective of somebody who's actually received school meals and seen his mother struggle. And there's some people here that obviously haven't had that experience, where some people have claimed school meals. But it's important that we reflect on and hold accountable your own party and other governments as well. And there's no one in this council chamber that can say that I haven't done that. If the government's wrong, it's wrong, and we need to call them out instead of trying to cover our own tracks or hide, enhance our own careers. So I'd ask, every member in the council to speak on a moral issue without making it into a political issue if you want, but also reflect on the mistakes of previous governments as well. In terms of public sector increases, wage increases, we have to remember that we don't even know how many jobs are going to survive moving forward. How many people are not going to come off furlough? We don't know them numbers yet. How many jobs that are currently in place here, with some automation, etc., in March are going to exist? And is it the right time to be asking? I'm not. It's a question. Is it the right time to be asking for public sector wage increases, or should we be pushing for the millions of self-employed people who've lost massive incomes in the hospitality, leisure sector? And there's people probably in this chamber who've lost out financially and having to rely on things that they probably wouldn't have done before. So let's not just call for one sector to be supported at the expense of other people. I think if we're going to ask for support, we need to ask for a support across the board for people who are really, really going to be struggling, who are probably struggling now. And I think the struggle is going to continue well beyond into the next year. And we're going to see the real-term consequences of the impact on this virus, particularly when the furlough program and other programs end. So that's what I think is important. I mean, Rashford campaign, I think it was a brilliant campaign, and it embarrassed politicians. And it was an embarrassment for politicians, but I think he did a fantastic job. Brilliant what he did, and it's good to see footballers take that responsibility and show leadership where other people were ineffective or unwilling to do that. However, I still think the biggest push that local councils and politicians of any party can do is to decrease the tax burden on people. And we should be arguing for the national living wage to continue to be increased so people can provide for their families. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Councillor Ahmed. Denise, do you want to come back on that one, or do you want me to carry on getting some more questions first?
Well, I'll just come back. I mean, it wasn't a question as such, but I do feel, yes, the school meals issue has been an issue for a long time, but this year has been an exceptional year. And I feel that the government should have done much more to help. And I think they wouldn't have done if they hadn't have been embarrassed by Marcus Rashford. I don't think in this council chamber it should be a political issue. I think we should be prepared to look after the children in our district. And that's what we're going to do, whether the government were helping us or not.
Thank you very much, Denise. I'm going to go on to the next question or a comment here from Councillor Stansby.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Just want to say a big thank you. First of all, I know it's not directly relating to your comments, Denise. Thank you to the Mayor for his continued support of the food bank, and thank you to all the people local to Renthorpe and Outwood for their continuous support of the food bank. But I'd just like to pick out somebody in particular, or two organisations. One is Wakefield Conservatives, who have provided the support for both funding for free school meals that we've supplied. We sent out 108 free school meals to meals to families who are entitled to free school meals during the half term, courtesy of Tony Homewood and the Conservative group, who have funded the insurance for the group and have given us money to provide food for these children. So credit where it's due. You know, we might not always agree with what the government says, but as a group, we have made sure that certainly children that we know about haven't gone hungry. And we've also had funding from the government to make sure, and that was prior to the Marcus Rashford campaign as well. So just to set the record straight on that, you know, I don't think we should be politicising this, and I don't think we should be letting things that are